I'm Sam from Cultaholic Wrestling, and I'm here with your lovely, lovely bumper edition of Weekend Wrestling News. And unfortunately, Ross is off this week, so I'm all alone. So, yeah, I guess we should just probably take a look at the headlines. Talent and crew were reportedly furious backstage last night at SmackDown. An NXT Superstar has addressed backlash over appearing maskless in public. And CM Punk has commented on a long-rumoured dream match that was supposed to happen with Steve Austin. What did he have to say about it? Find out in a bit. So last Sunday was the big game, the big football game, the one that we're not really sure whether we're allowed to say its name or not because they seem to just pursue people at random for using it. The one that Tom Brady and his mates won, that one. So yes, it's one of the holiest days in all of America, and usually people would get together, hang out, binge drink, binge eat, watch the football, you know, just standard stuff. But this year is of course not a normal year, and so people have been forced to either go it alone or maybe meet up with people to the best that they can, considering, you know, the local laws surrounding what they're doing. Some people were even seeking open establishments to maybe just catch up with some of their friends before catching the game itself, and NXT superstar Catanzaro was one of these people. However, videos and images of her appearing without her mask on in public began to circulate on social media, and people were outraged, and outrage started to build surrounding what could possibly be, you know, flagrant disregard of COVID policies for you know, just generally during a pandemic. So as the uproar was getting louder and louder, Catanzaro took to Twitter to provide some clarity on the situation. In a small video, she said, "I know that people are concerned that I was at a restaurant over the weekend. I want everyone to know that I hear you and I appreciate your concern. Here where I live in Florida, restaurants are open to a certain capacity. You have to wear a mask when you go in and when you leave, and really any time that we aren't sitting down at our table, we have to have a mask on, but when we're sitting down to eat or drink, we're allowed to take our masks off. I know that's the part that people saw, that people were upset with, and so I'm sorry for anybody that is upset. I understand your concern, and I want you to know that I do care about the safety of others around me and myself, and I follow all of the protocol. Luckily for me with work, we get tested at least once a week, if not twice sometimes, and I carry my hand sanitizer with me everywhere. Everywhere that we have to, I wear my mask, and I'm sorry that this moment made people think otherwise, but I just want you all to know that I hear you, I appreciate the concern, I'm looking out for the safety of others around me, as well as trying to take care of myself the best I can, and I wish the best for everybody else." Now, she's right, really, because you can't eat with a mask on, you can't drink with a mask on, and up until recently, this was also policy in the UK. I think when we were in Tier 2, maybe even the start of Tier 3, when restaurants were open, you could, you know, smaller amounts of people were allowed in. Obviously, they weren't allowed to be rammed, but, you know, you had to wear a mask at every single point until you were sat on the table, at which point you could take the mask off in order to eat. Mask goes straight back on afterwards. So really, Kacy Catanzaro was following her local guidelines, no matter what you may think of the policy. Personally, you know, I don't think Catanzaro is to blame for any of this. I'd be nervous about going and sitting and eating in a restaurant at the minute, but if locally they're allowed to do that, then she's well within her rights to do that. And I think really the blame here, you know, for places like this being open and for, you know, people being able to take their masks off in public, that lies with Florida State, surely, like the state allowing these businesses to be open. But either way, if you're out there and you're watching this, just a reminder to make sure to wear your mask, make sure you've got hand sanitizer with you, just look after yourself, because we bloody love you lot and we don't want anything to happen to any of you. Now, WWE has made a new signing, and according to Fightful Select, that signing is Christian Casanova. He's expected also to be part of the upcoming Performance Center class, and he's apparently somebody that the company have had their eye on for quite some time. He's got about 7 years of experience working for companies such as Evolve, GCW, and Beyond Wrestling. The guy has a great look. He's currently also the champion for Limitless Wrestling and Northeast Wrestling, so hopefully NXT, if it is going to be NXT that he goes to, or, you know, he might go straight to the main roster, you never know. He's going into the Performance Center, but hopefully once they get the ball rolling on him, they're going to be able to do something really cool with him. On the point of WWE, let's take a quick look at last night's SmackDown, which was essentially all about setting up the Elimination Chamber match for, you know, the SmackDown side of it at the pay-per-view. And the entire show sort of framed itself around this little thread. Throughout the show, we had a series of matches with Roman Reigns slated to also be in the match, initially defending his title before he stepped off, and instead we got the following. So during the qualifiers, the winners were Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, Sami Zayn, and Baron Corbin, but because Roman had kind of been a bit of a cheeky little boy and stepped away from what was planned for him by the company, Adam Pearce got his revenge by adding Jey Uso to the mix, which was just all sorts of confusing for Jey. He didn't know how to feel. And then Kevin Owens. It should be an utterly insane match, but I wouldn't be surprised, if we are going to swap somebody out or maybe add somebody to the mix and start with a bit of a triple threat going on, simply because we got all this set up now. They had all the standing tall and everything at the end, and everybody was brawling, and there's still another episode of SmackDown to go before we get to Chamber. Either way, if Owens makes it to the pay-per-view and is still in the match and Roman doesn't have him disposed of next week, I can see him winning it just to continue this little feud they've got going, because at the moment he seems like possibly the best option. He's sort of the best and most established nemesis for Roman at the minute, because they've been going back and forth so much. I should probably add as well that Roman is going to, instead of appearing in the match, he's going to allow the winner to face him for a chance at the belt on the same show. So Roman's going to come in there fresh after somebody's just been through the chamber. So Roman's not dropping the belt at the pay-per-view. I don't know. Who do you guys think is going to win? Let me know below. Now, CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin is one of the most dreamed dream matches, I think, ever. Really? Isn't it? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine the program? Just a massive what if, and rumours have bubbled and bubbled and bubbled. We had Punk in the pipe bomb, he was wearing the Stone Cold shirt. There's always been talk that maybe there could have been something that could have happened. And last night, during a Q&A on Twitter, somebody asked Punk about it. So yeah, somebody asked him how he thinks the match would have gone, and he responded with, would have been short, GTS 1, 2, 3. Now, it's nice to see that Punk's sense of humour certainly hasn't gone away in his time away from the company, but even if it was just GTS 1, 2, 3, that's it. Can you imagine the months of build that we would get out of that? Can you imagine? It just makes you sad, doesn't it? It just makes you so sad. It really just sounds like an explosion that could have possibly kicked off a missing era of wrestling, and now we're probably never, we're never going to get it unless... Steve, go on, Steve, go on. Go on, one more. And finally, we have a story that was starting to develop around End of Play for us yesterday here in the UK, and Fightful Select have reported on it. Reportedly, WWE have frozen all bonuses, raises, and promotions for their employees, and apparently performance-based bonuses may still be on the table, but that's unclear at the moment. But yeah, bonuses, raises, and promotions for employees have been frozen. Now, this is absolutely shocking considering the amount of money that we've been hearing WWE is bringing in over the past year. And, apparently this all stems from something to do with the Q4 earnings being lower than expected. But, come on. Now, the cost-cutting measures last year, when so many people were let go at such a short amount of time, it was absolutely horrible. It was heartbreaking to see. And now it just looks like that may have been the harbinger of something much bigger going on at the company. WWE reportedly sent a company-wide email as well to address the situation, and they held key meetings, with key personnel, that would be affected on both the production and office side of the fence. This has, of course, had an understandably massively negative effect on the staff. And sources close to the matter have stated that the salary freeze has been implemented on the office side, and morale was very, very low after the announcement was made. WWE, meanwhile, is making big money quarterly, and so this news just comes a bit from left field, doesn't it? The report has gone on to mention that the announcement went out to corporate employees and staff, but not the superstars as well. So it doesn't look at the moment like superstars may be affected by this, but as I said, it's quite unclear. And then following on from this, it was reported that staff and superstars backstage at SmackDown last night were furious, were just in a horrible mood, with WrestleVotes even reporting the level of unhappiness and straight up anger is at an all-time high backstage. It was also described as not being a good look for the company. We don't know for sure. Obviously, we can't say for sure. We weren't there. Whether the anger that's reportedly coming from Backstage is linked to the anger from the office, but given the timing of everything, you'd probably, you'd be more surprised if it wasn't at this stage. Companies do need to be transparent at both the best and worst of times, and being direct is not a bad thing. Like letting people know the second that you're going to have to do these things, that's good, but at the same time, you can't be signing wrestlers and cutting loads of staff and saving loads of money and not going out on tours and making more and more and more and more money and then, doing this. It doesn't make sense from this perspective, and what it does to morale, it essentially just tells staff that they're not really worth it. Morale being low is also potentially going to lead to more negativity, less attention to detail at work, and ultimately you can't have staff in a job such as live TV production that are apathetic. You just can't. They need to be engaged and fully on board with what they're doing. It's just... as I said, especially when you're spending money hiring talent. It's just such a confusing piece of news, but we'll keep you posted as it develops. But this has been your weekend wrestling news update. And I hope wherever you are, you're having a good weekend. And just as always, stay safe. Thanks for sticking with me, even though it was a solo one. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.